as we await the release of Pokemon Legends ZA, which is set to come out in just a few days from the time of this recording, something else is also going on in the Pokemon community, which is absolutely huge, and that something is leaks. There are a bunch of leaks that are coming out right now, and while I'm not going to go into all of them right here, there is one that I did want to go ahead and talk about and make a video on that also pertains a little bit to ZA as well, and that is that it has just been leaked, and it seems like all of this is legit. I am not the initial source, so I'm just reporting the news, but it does seem like all of this is legit. And that particular leak that I wanted to talk about here is the fact that Game Freak was going to make Pokemon Legends Johto. It was going to be the game that we are getting in just a few days, but for whatever reason, they decided to change course and make Pokemon Legends ZA instead. This is honestly an insane revelation, and we don't have a lot of information on this topic, but we do have a couple of leaked, what seem to be planning documents that give us a little bit of insight on what Game Freak's thoughts were about this game, and some of the details about what the game was going to be like in terms of its concept and foundation. It says in these planning documents, which I'm not going to show just for the sake of the video, staying up on YouTube, but they're easy to find if you know where to look. But as far as what they say, they mention that this game was going to be in honor of the 25th anniversary of Pokemon Gold and Silver, which makes a lot of sense. And also, if I'm not mistaken, would be in 2024 when that anniversary would have taken, or when it did take place, which is also when Pokemon Legends ZA was purportedly set to come out before it too was delayed. Additionally, these planning documents also mention that this Pokemon Legends game was tentatively called, and maybe this was the final title, maybe it was just a placeholder, I don't know, but it was going to be called and was referred to in these documents as Pokemon Legends Ho-Oh and Lugia. So those were the tentative titles at the very least, and it also confirmed that this Legends title was going to feature 2 different games instead of just one like Pokemon Legends Arceus, and it makes a specific mention of that. So that seems to be like a key point of the game, was this time around it's 2 versions instead of just one like Legends Arceus, which they once again have gone, I guess, changed course on, because as we see with Legends ZA, it is just one game as well, just like Legends Arceus. From there, it basically gives us, these planning documents give us a little bit of an insight into what the game would have been like, and it's really heartbreaking to say because this concept just has so much potential, but it's basically just as we envisioned it would be. It says that this game takes place in the past. It takes place, basically, it's another past Legends game, just like Legends Arceus, where it takes place X amount of years prior to the events of Gold and Silver. It mentions that this game would revolve around how people started to become Pokemon trainers, and it doesn't really mention whether this would be like before Legends Arceus or after Legends Arceus. It just kind of mentions that it's in the past and that it kind of revolves around people becoming Pokemon trainers or starting to become Pokemon trainers. So that obviously would have been amazing. The past setting obviously would have been great. And then it also mentions how the player would be involved in reviving 3 Pokemon, which is obviously pertaining to the 3 legendary beasts that were revived after the burned tower was struck by lightning and burned to the ground. So it seems to be saying that the player character would have been involved in that process somehow. And this is a big speculative point on my part, but if we would be involved, hypothetically speaking, in the revival of those Pokemon, it is quite possible that we would have seen the original forms of these Pokemon as well, which if there's any possibility of us having had the chance to see that and now this game has been scrapped, that is a monumental loss. That is an absolutely monumental loss. It's like that is just awful. That is just awful. It also mentions that it's trying to, these games were set to basically establish Pokemon Legends as a series. They wanted it, from what the machine translated planning document said, it seemed like they wanted these games to really kind of like set in stone what a Legends game is, and set in stone the Legends the Legends series, like as an entire series as well, which is great. And to this point, it seems like that's about all of the information we have. This is another speculative point I will say, and that is that it potentially, I mean, this kind of goes along with reviving the Pokemon that burned in the Burned Tower, but it does potentially seem to be the case that this game would have taken place 150 years ago, because it does make a mention of the Burned Tower, and it says, the Burned Tower said to have been destroyed by fire 150 years ago. In the past, it was a 9-story tower identical to the Bell Tower. So it kind of seems to be alluding to the Burned Tower wouldn't have been burned in this scenario, but then it would have got burned because you would be reviving 3 Pokemon, presumably from within the tower. So it seemed, while it doesn't outright say that this is the concept and this is the plot and this is the setting and this is the time in which this game takes place, it pretty much seems to be alluding that it would have taken place 150 years ago. It would have chronicled the events of the burning of the Burned Tower, and the player somehow would have been involved in reviving the 3 Pokemon that died in the tower and helping them to become Raikou, Entei, and Suicune, which presumably would have allowed us to see who those Pokemon were. And yeah, that's a monumental loss. That is absolutely, that is just so unbelievably awful. To this point, that is all the information we have. If we do ever get more info on this, I will be sure to include it in more videos. But yeah, that's something I wanted to comment on because I have made a Legends Johto video myself for my channel, and I've advocated for the idea of that game for a long time now. In fact, a lot of the footage you're seeing for this video is from my Legends Johto video. I created a whole big concept for it that kind of was fairly similar to this, actually. And so it's crazy that they were actually going to do that and then changed course. It will be interesting to see if we ever are able to find out why they decided to change course and go with Kalos of all things instead of Johto. Personally, if I had to guess, I would say it possibly has something to do with what they have planned for the future past this game, which tells me, with Legends ZA obviously focusing around Mega Evolution, that maybe they decided to go with Kalos and Mega Evolution instead because they also maybe decided to make Mega Evolution a thing going forward with like Gen 10, and it's hard to say to what degree that is. Like, will we get new Megas in Gen 10? Will it continue to be a regular thing that is supported? Are they just wanting to bring it back in terms of allowing you to Mega Evolve your Pokemon? So like kind of what we saw in Sun and Moon, where we didn't get any new Megas, but they were there for us to use. To me, specifically going with ZA over a Legends Johto game kind of suggests that they decided to go that route potentially because of what they want to do in the future. And that might have to do with Mega Evolution. We'll have to wait and see, but that is something I could see. And then the other thing I could also see is that Game Freak is always desperate to pull a fast one on us. They always want to surprise us and not do what we are expecting. This has been true for a long time. And so with this game being pretty much what we were expecting in terms of it being focused on Johto and also being set in the past and basically being another Legends Arceus, I could see them having a desire to not just go with the status quo and basically do something different. That's definitely something I could see, and I can also see that they maybe didn't want to make another Legends Arceus, which, as amazing as this would be, and as much as we absolutely need to have this game at some point in the future, that's basically what this game is another Legends Arceus, whereas Legends ZA is another Legends game, but it's a totally different vibe. So for that reason, I could see them maybe changing their minds about it too. Whatever the case though, it's a shame that this was cut. I hope this is able to come back at some point. Obviously, we need Legends to continue as a series, and Johto is absolutely going to be the prime candidate for the next setting of the next Legends game moving forward. So hopefully at some point this comes to fruition and gets revived, just like the Pokemon that died in the Burn Tower, which is actually pretty poetic. So hopefully they make it happen. For now though, absolutely crazy stuff. Be sure to let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I'll bring you guys any other significant updates to all this leak situation as we move forward. I'm not going to talk about everything because I don't want to talk about spoilery stuff, but anything interesting that I feel like is worth talking about, I definitely will cover here. And obviously going to be covering a lot of Legends ZA as it comes out. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you enjoyed. Leave a like. It really helps out. And until the next one, as always, thanks so much for watching, and I will smell you guys later.